Big welcome to all of you. I wanted to, first of all, just identify a few people who have walked with us with Travel Fever Tours on the Camino before. And if I can go through the order that people are showing up here. Well, first of all, I want to welcome my brother and partner in crime, Don, who shares the responsibilities of tending people when on the Camino, driving the van with me and leading on the trail. And joining him in that same frame is his wife Meg, who's also been on some of the Caminos with us. Betsy Bates is
Hi.
with us from Dunstan. She's trying to keep warm, evidently, and she's been walking with us on the Camino since day one as a leader and a guide. And I'm glad you could join us, Betsy. Um, Not in any particular order beyond that, we have Asa, who we're all fans of. He walked with us on the first section of the Camino, or almost the first section of the Camino. And then he continued on, walking all the way, all 500 plus miles to Santiago and onto the ocean to Finisterre, if I remember right. So welcome, Asa. And we have Robin Hops here, who's walked with us a number of times in Portugal and Spain, and has been wonderful to have on trips. And looking forward to hearing from her. Claire Lamata has been on the first section of Camino with us, so the very first time we offered it, and also very good to have you with us. I think Hildegard is here too, or was here. She's having trouble with her connection, and she walked the Portugal section with us. Is there anyone I'm missing of folks who've been walking with us before? Okay, sounds like sounds like we've got it covered. I wanted to start out as let's see, as I often do, which is to share some photos with you, and that's just to get us in the spirit here. To do this, I need to share my screen, so bear with me a second. I don't have any fancy music or moving images, but we do have some pretty photos. Okay, so there we are. Um, oh, so that's me on the first one, and one of my favorite spots, just just outside of Pamplona on the first leg from Pamplona, walking with some statues. And here we're walking in Portugal along the Minho River. This is again in the first stage between Pamplona and Burgos.
Ah, there's Lisa.
Um, Lisa's on the coast of Portugal with the Atlantic Ocean behind her. Here's some folks who actually were not on our trip, but I love this photo. They stopped to make friends with a horse. This was in Galicia in the last section going into Santiago. And this was on the Portuguese Camino walk that we offer, but it was actually after we crossed the Minho River and we're in Spain, and we spend one night in Spain. The first sections of the Camino are more arid, as you can see here. The last section in Spain going into Santiago is wetter and much greener, and so many things are colorful in Spain.
Mm.
This is Porto, where we start the Portuguese Camino walk. It's a lovely city. And this is walking up the dunes. There's Betsy um, walking up the dunes in Portugal along the Atlantic Ocean. This is also along the Atlantic. Betsy, you're popular. This was in the first section outside of Pamplona. one of the things we always like is when family groups come together on the trip.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Lois is
I
on.
remember them.
Lois and her two
Yeah,
daughters.
that was our trip. Yeah, that was awesome.
And it's the record has been set. We had five people from one family representing three generations. That was wonderful, ranging from the 70s down to the
Mm.
20s. Somehow eating is a centerpiece for whatever we do because, well, we like to eat.
You always find the
Because in
best
the
places for lunch too, by the way. Yeah, I was amazed at the locations you picked. It was crazy. Like off the beaten path, like they weren't swarmed by people or anything. Like I it was like every time it was like, well, how did you find this place? So you've got a real knack for it. Absolutely.
I
well, thanks.
remember I remember, Bob, there were a lot of jealous glances from other walkers when you would lay out your spread and they'd be coming by and they'd be like, wait a minute, can I
Yeah,
join?
and like even sometimes people would just like start getting in line,
Yeah.
and like you guys are obviously nice enough that you don't kick anybody out, but it was just funny. People are like, "Oh, it's food," So it was like I remember that a couple times. One lady from France, I think, she was like kind of stalking us for a few days, like for those lunches.
Well, there people go out of their way in an organized or less than organized fashion to cater to the pilgrims, and we'd love to feed everyone. Don't have that much food, but we certainly, after people on our tours have a chance to eat, we do try to spread any leftover food around. Let's see. This is in Galicia, towards starting out towards Santiago. As you can see, it's much greener here. Also in Galicia, and this, of course, is
Mm.
the one of the versions of the sign postings. This is the sign postings in Galicia. They're presented in different ways in different parts, different provinces going across Spain. It's a familiar sight
Mm.
in Portugal. That wasn't us on the
Yeah.
horses. It was just a nice scene. I wonder who that could be. Betsy?
I remember that.
Hmm.
There it
And then
is.
you arrive.
Yeah,
There it
Santiago.
is.
This is the end point of all the Caminos, starting from all over different points in Europe, is Santiago, and specifically the cathedral in Santiago. And here it is, catching the late afternoon sun, making it glow a wonderful shade of gold. So, without further ado, then I'm going to stop that, move that across there. So let's get started with a discussion here. First, I want to go back to you, Asa, because you're our poster child here, having gone on to walk the whole thing. Why did you walk it, and what? I mean, there's very huge questions here. What did you get out of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason I wanted to do it is I know, like my aunt Betsy, she'd been leading the tours, and when I was at her 80th birthday, I sort of just threw it out there as a on a whim, like, hey, maybe wouldn't it be great if we did one of you if I did one of your tours with you, and yeah, and then from there it just started rolling. She wouldn't let me let go of that idea, neither would I. So we made it happen, and then when was getting the time off from work to do it, I just thought, well, heck, I want to do the whole thing. Like, let's just do this. And so and it was a perfect way to break it up because I started like 3 days before I did the 10-day tour starting in Pamplona with you guys. And so I was able to walk 3 days before to get to Pamplona. do the tour with you guys, and then continue on after. So it was a perfect way to. I had a little bit of an introduction to it. Was able to be pampered by you guys with the tour. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it's not luxury. It's not like we're not staying at the Ritz, so this isn't like luxury, but it's like luxurious in the sense that the hotels are super nice. The food is amazing, and like you're taken care of in every single way, which is just was amazing. And then afterwards, I went back on my own again. And in fact, actually, after the tour ended, I did continue on with Robin and two other people. We did a few days on our own, just the four of us. So we kind of mixed it up in that way also. Yeah, and what I got out of it, that it's the Camino's amazing. The culture of it, the community, it's incredible. Every section of the Camino is different. Like it's really amazing how you just depending on the section you do, it's completely different from section to section, not just geography, but the people that you encounter, the walkers that are on it, because people are doing different sections. Some people are doing the whole thing, of course, but then people just go in and do different sections that they like. So you're just encountering different people at every stage, and so that was also very cool. Yeah, and what I got out of it is, you can do hard things, right? Like it wasn't I wouldn't say it was easy. Like the Camino is a challenge, but I think everybody can rise to that challenge, which is what I did. So, and it's a memory I will have forever. Especially with my Aunt Betsy, it was really special.
Yay.
I
Thank you,
can't, yeah, and I
Asa.
love the tour. Like it was just great. I could go on and on about everything, but yeah, you guys just have a great. Which tours are you doing next year? Like I didn't look at the schedule. So seems like you're doing more that are going into Santiago now, or are you still doing the Pamplona one as well?
We're doing three this coming year. One
Okay.
is the Pamplona one, starting just, the Spain side of the
Hmm.
Pyrenees, going almost to Burgos. And we have started to run the Santiago section, which is the last 110, 120 kilometers that end in Santiago. And we have also run the section in Portugal twice,
Hmm.
and we're going to run that again this coming fall as well, starting in Porto and heading up to the Spanish border.
Okay.
So it's the Camino continues to gain in popularity, and so we're offering more trips. Robin, can I call on you next? You've done a number of different sections. Do you want to give us the list and give us your impressions?
Sure. Have done, I didn't do it in order. I did it what kind of worked for me. So the first time I went with two friends and we did a section. It wasn't the beginning. Oh, I know. I was scheduled to go with Travel Fever Tours, but it was during COVID. So I went with these friends instead because your trip got canceled for the COVID. Then I did the beginning section when I first retired. Everybody has their own reason for doing the Camino. Um, and whatever your reason, it's the right reason. And it doesn't have to be some glorious, you know, big reason like, oh, I'm going to do it because, you know, some big reason. Any reason is fine. I had people asking me, well, what are you, why are you doing it? And I said, well, or so what was your, what's your purpose? And I said, I have absolutely no agenda other than walk, eat, sleep, and get up and walk again because I like walking and I like people. So um, I did the my first trip with Travel Fever Tours was the Pamplona trip, and it was absolutely I never could have imagined a more wonderful trip. I couldn't have even made up a more wonderful trip. And I like Asa was saying, the food was amazing and the hotels were really nice. And the schedule was perfect. For me, it was the right balance between schedule time, which is, we leave at 9 o'clock in the morning. And you get your breakfast, have your breakfast in time for that. And then you end whenever you end and enjoy the late afternoon and then get together for dinner. Um, so there's this scheduled time and then unscheduled time. It was just the perfect balance for me. And I was also able to have time for myself as well as meet other people from Travel Fever tours and meet other people on the Camino. The camaraderie on the Camino is like nothing I've ever experienced before. It's like this instant camaraderie with people, and everybody says Buen Camino, and they mean it. They really mean it. Um, so let's see. Yeah, I did. I liked the Pamplona trip so much. I did it with Travel Fever Tours twice, same trip. The second time, I started in the Pyrenees, where Asa met me. I mean, I already knew Asa through Betsy, of course. So my niece and I went to Pamplona, and then we took the bus up to Saint Jean, and we started hiking, and we met up with Asa, and so we came over the Pyrenees together and back down into Pamplona. So that was and then did the Pamplona trip, and then that ended, and like Asa said, we had another few days together. And you know what? Even if it rains, it doesn't matter because our day in Burgos was raining. So what? I mean, I can't explain the feeling other than this camaraderie and kind of magic. Everything just flows.
Well, because if it's raining for you, it's raining for everybody, right? And that's
Yeah,
exactly what it is. Is like everyone's in it together. And yeah, I totally agree. Like the camaraderie is amazing because like I saw people on my first day on the trip, and then I saw them again on my final day. Like you would see them again, like you'd see them continually throughout the
yeah.
entire walk, and that was just it was just amazing. I just loved that part of it of just seeing people over and over again and everyone having a common goal of doing something. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it was really fun to run into people again.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I did the two Pamplona trips and I did the trip into Santiago and then the trip in um, Portugal, part of the
Portugal.
Camino, the Porto trip in Portugal. And just got back from Germany, actually. We did a Camino-esque type thing, although it was a wonderful hike, but it wasn't that same feeling as the Camino, but it was a trip on a trail in Germany with Travel Fever Tours. Um, so I'm a Travel Fever Tours alum. I'm signed up for a lot of things next year, and I wouldn't mind doing the Pamplona trip again. I just love that. But there are different sections. It's the topography is different. The culture is different. Some areas are famous for food like peppers. There's different well, it's a whole country. You're walking across the whole country. Just like if you drive from the east to the west in this country, it's going to be different um differences. And it was all wonderful. So I'm going to have to stop myself because I could go on, but I'm going to stop.
Well, thank you, Robin. Well, I want to call on some other people who've walked, but first, maybe we should ask if there are any questions from people who are considering walking. Anybody want to be brave and jump in?
Actually, I do. I'm curious too, on the average of how many people do you see a day? I mean, is it how crowded is it? Like that type of, I know it sounds funny, but how many people more or less?
Let me jump in on that, and people could add their own comments if they like. It depends on what section. If you're walking the first section from Pamplona, there's fewer people because it's more attractive for people like to come into Santiago, so they tend to start further on. So
Right.
there's less people in the early section.
Okay.
And the same with Porto when you're coming up through Portugal. Although the Portuguese Camino is becoming more popular, but there's several different routes, and we take the least
Directions.
popular, the least frequented one, which
Yep.
is right up along
Yeah.
the water there.
Yeah.
The last section into Santiago does tend to be more crowded. There's definitely more people there. Um, and I don't see that as a bad thing. And I
No.
don't, maybe someone else can speak to this. Um, Part of, as I think you've been hearing, part of the draw to this is being able to meet people, and you're
People.
meeting people from all over the world.
That's right.
So, it's not like, you're at the top of the Eiffel Tower with 14 million other people. You are with a lot of other people, but that's part of the
Yeah.
draw,
Yeah.
not a detriment.
Right. Uh,
Anybody else want to be brave with a question?
I can jump in. My name is Beth. I'm in the Hudson Valley of New York, and I am trying to choose a route, and I'm looking at your tours. I have my daughter with me. She's 22. She really only has maybe 10 to 12 days to walk. And so I can't remember how long is your Pamplona section?
9 days if memory serves me. I'll look that up.
Okay. About 9 days. And I liked hearing that Asa was able to, for example, walk all the way to Santiago because my vision is to, to walk with her and then, you know, have her get transportation down to Madrid and fly home from there. And I would stay and continue on to Santiago. I'm also thinking about the idea of maybe having her walk the beginning with me, really starting at the beginning of the Française and then sending her home and joining you for the Pamplona part of it, just because I think I do also want her to have a more ruggedized experience of being the auberges and meeting strangers and making friends and, rather than being in a slightly more comforting approach with the hotels and the pampering and stuff. And but anyway, so just sharing my thoughts, and if that triggers anything for anyone to share with me, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you could almost do exactly what I did in terms of starting in Saint Jean, hiking for a couple days, walking for a couple days, and then meeting the group in Pamplona, doing the tour, and then continuing. And that worked out perfectly. Like I had mentioned before, it was just absolutely a dream because you get that camaraderie in the beginning with seeing the stuff, and then you get the group, so you have things more taken care of, and then we were on our own again. So yeah, so I kind of like that idea, and I think the Pamplona thing is to me, I think that is a better stretch if it's an introduction to the Camino because it is a little bit less crowded. It's just a little more rustic. The area, part going into Santiago is a little more developed. Also, it's hillier too. The later part, so it's easier walking the earlier part too. So you can sort of work your fitness level up. You don't have to worry about although like the Pyrenees part is one day of like really hard stuff, but like it's just one or 2 days, so it's not then you're
How
done,
many
and then
how many days is it, Asa, from the Pyrenees part to Pamplona?
I did it in I think I did it in 3 days. You can do it probably most people probably do it in four.
Okay.
So I think
Okay.
it's like 3 to 4 to 5 if you really want to take your time. But I would say
Okay.
probably 4 is the average. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I did the same thing. 'Cause I went with my niece. We started in Saint Jean, and we,
Yeah, you took
I
one
mean,
extra day because I think you stayed like at
yeah,
the first hut there. I forget the name of it. I gotta look at my book.
yeah, Orasan. I
Orison,
mean,
exactly. Yep.
Beth, I can give you details and recommendations. I don't know if other people want to do this, but I mean, you can like get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go all the way up to Russian Valles
Yeah,
from
that's
Saint
that's
Ron,
Jean.
I didn't get up at
Ron said,
5, but I left at like
Ron said,
6. Yeah.
And because we both had flown all night, and anyway, it was just a long couple of days to get there. So we got to St. John at noon and spent the afternoon there. And then the next day, rather than getting up and going 23 miles, we went about 6 miles and had a relaxing afternoon. And we met so many people at this place in Orson. I recommend, if you're going to come with your daughter and you're going to do all this traveling, is to give yourself a really easy first day. You get to meet people in St. John. You're going to want to walk around and get your passport
Mm. Oh, yeah.
that you're going to want to stamp along the way. You get all these great stamps.
Oh, neat.
And so you get your passport, you have some wine, you walk around, you have dinner, you get a good night's sleep. You get up and you have a really easy first day to Orison. And then the next day you wake up refreshed and you go to Rochenvallis. So yeah, we did it. That's why we met in Burgett, Asa,
Mhm.
because you did it in one day, and
Right.
it was our second day.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And Orison it's a magical spot. I happened to get there, I think, at like 10 a.m. or something. So I was like, I can't stay. I'm not going to stay here. But so I kept going. But yeah, I think if you plan it, like you said, get a later start, you can get up there in the afternoon. Orison is a nice. You might have to make a reservation. I'm not sure how that works because
Yeah, I did.
it's very popular.
Yeah, I
It's a
made a
popular
reservation.
one.
Easy.
Yeah.
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 But
Well, that's a great suggestion.
be aware
Yeah.
that there's bunk beds and people snore.
Okay.
But it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
we can
there's no
plan for that.
snoring. Travel Fever Tours has no snoring. You
Right.
have your own room,
Unless it's yourself, but yeah.
unless it's yourself or whoever you're with.
Exactly.
I was
Yeah.
I did the whole thing when I was 65 with a 27-pound pack. And one night I was in a room with 100 beds and one other guy from Germany who was very far away, but I could hear him snoring.
Wow. That's so funny.
Yeah, no, I went in bunk rooms where the guy handed out earplugs before you went to bed. He was just
Yep.
like, "Yep, I snore, so do you guys need earplugs?" And he would like give them to people. So yeah, it's definitely a problem, or
Yeah.
can be. But again, that's just part of it. Actually, like I embraced it and I loved it, so I didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me at all. Like some people would get mad about it, but I'm like, you can't get mad. Like
Right.
Yeah.
it's just enjoy.
It was
And-
so worth it. So
Yeah,
worth it.
absolutely.
So
Oh, worth
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Brian, did you have a question? You're muted.
There we go.
Brian.
The
Yeah.
earplug has prompted my question actually, because I was
Hi,
wondering
Brian.
who has any regrets or things you would do differently in terms of clothing, shoe wear, etc. Earplugs obviously are a good thing to take if you're even not going to be in single rooms, I guess. So, any ideas about what you would change if you were to go again?
Well, I'll jump in.
I'll jump in
really quickly, because as the people who were on the walk that I did know, I got pretty bad blisters. And I think what I would say is just don't take about half the stuff you think you're going to take. That's what I should have done, is just like not packed a bunch. In fact, I did give a bunch of my stuff to Betsy at the end of the tour, and she brought it home with her. So I think that was a huge thing, is just you don't need as much, and certainly you don't need as many electronics or anything, or even entertainment or whatever, all that stuff, because you're going to just meet people. There's going to be things to, you're going to have plenty to do already. So like, you don't worry about any of that stuff either.
So what are the essentials? Obviously, something for blisters is something essential. Anything
I would say blister. Yeah, exact moleskin, band-aids. Yeah, like a small, like some sort of blister kit. Keeping your feet dry, I think, is important. So like that, some of those powders you can get, but it's a lot of that stuff. There's pharmacies in almost every small town, so you can always pick up stuff too if you don't have it, if you didn't bring it with you.
And did you all take hiking shoes, or people do it in sneakers sometimes, or what do you recommend for footwear?
Well, I kind of
People are
overdid it the first time. I was wearing Hoka boots, and now I just wear Hoka sneakers, and I wear the silk liners and then the sock over that.
Uh-huh.
And I had minimal problems.
Uh-huh.
And
Good.
as soon as you get a hot spot, which is a red spot, you cover it. So keep
Yeah.
track. And the other thing is you could change your socks at lunchtime.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Sometimes I would just take my sneakers off at lunchtime and just makes a
Air,
difference.
aerate the feet, huh? All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, change the socks. Yep.
I think
Mhm.
what really has helped me is that I do walk every day, no matter what the weather is. I have cleats. I was out there today with cleats on, even if I just do 2 or 3 miles, so that when I am actually on the trip, I don't seem to have a lot of trouble with my feet because I'm on them and walking every day.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That,
think breaking in your feet. Well,
yeah.
we usually call it breaking in your shoes, but I think it's mostly breaking in your feet is really important. Just to get out there and yeah, as Betsy said, get some walking in, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, I'm a fan of like the trail runner shoes that are like Gore-Tex, so they're like waterproof. I think because that's pretty
Yeah.
helpful. And then usually they have nice tread on them too. So um, yeah, I've had pretty good success with those low. Hiking boots are tend to be heavy, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like hiking boots themselves you end up getting more blisters than if you just wear regular shoes, low shoes.
Yeah, I'm asking the question because our former rector here at St. Mike was in Brattleboro. He hiked the trail actually the whole way from over the Pyrenees all the way to the end of Santiago, and he really suffered from his feet. So
Yeah.
that's why I was asking what you folks recommended.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to be trial by fire a little bit, but I think like Betsy's point about conditioning your feet ahead of time, not necessarily even the shoes, but just your feet, just
yeah,
for
yeah.
walking more. Because that was one thing I didn't do just because I worked full time before I left, so I didn't actually have as much time to walk as I would have liked before I left for the trip. So it was I was definitely not conditioned as well as I should have been,
Uh-huh.
and so I kind of paid for
I've,
it a little bit, but.
I've
The
seen
other
some
the other
terrible looking feet, but people on our trips, maybe because we hammer home the importance of breaking in your feet. We've had pretty good luck, Asa aside.
Yeah,
well also there's the van. I mean,
yeah,
people take after lunch they'll
Mm.
get a ride part way or get a it's you're not you're
Yeah.
not left
You're not trapped.
you're not trapped. Yeah.
You can get a ride.
So, did you have a
Yeah,
question
yeah.
or
Could I have a
comment?
question? I think this might be a good time to ask this question, which is why I'm being so insistent. So it seems like there are tour, when people go on their own or and then when they go with Travel Fever tours. And I'm wondering if you could describe a day when you do it on your own as compared to a day when you do it with Travel Fever
Mm.
tours.
Good question.
Mm.
I'll jump in,
And
having done both.
yeah.
Um, I think, well, what we try to do for people at Travel Fever Tours is to take any of the worries or the stress out of it. You don't have to worry about getting your bag to the right place so it'll be transported on. You don't have to worry about where you're going to have lunch or what you're going to eat for lunch or where you're going to eat dinner, or whether you're going to, have a bed waiting for you. We've got all these things lined up for you. So when people are going through a day on our tour, it's, you get up, you eat, we have a little talk about the day ahead, you get out and walk, we have a picnic lunch, you walk some more. And as Robin said, you have some time for yourself, and then we, meet up for dinner. And so there's not a lot to think about. When
Mm.
I've walked by myself, yeah, well, there's more to think about. Um, and Gosh, can't say that I particularly like one better than the other. Well, I've never actually been a guest on a travel fever tour. Um, but there's a little bit more to think about when you're on your own. Anybody have something to add to that, Claire,
Yeah,
maybe?
I would add that for me, my partner's not a traveler, but I am. And so I like traveling with the group. Um, and um, I on the trip with Bob and Don and Betsy and whoever else is leading, Maddie one time, Bob's daughter. The feeling is I feel completely supported in my pilgrimage. And I call it a pilgrimage because it's different than just going for a long walk. It's whatever you make it. There's something very special about it, and it's the specialness is whatever you bring to it. It could be religious, it could be non-religious, spiritual. Um, for me, it was just, like I said, I had just retired. I just kind of wanted to regroup, clear my head and just kind of practice gratitude for being able to retire and being able to take this trip. And so for that personal pilgrimage, I was completely supported in my ability to just relax and be and walk and eat and sleep. I didn't have to think about anything. Um,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
that's
I would,
unique.
I would agree. I would to carry on what Robin was saying. I would agree with that. With on the parts on the tour, because so much is taken care of, you can just sort of immerse yourself in the present and just enjoy the things that you're seeing. You don't have to worry that you're going to miss something because Bob and Don have already scoped everything out. So they've will highlight the important things to see, and they'll like bring you, like I was talking about, the lunch spots that are amazing. So you don't have to like sort of be looking on the lookout for like, am I going to miss anything on this because I sometimes did worry about that when I was on my own. I'm like, did I see everything I was supposed to see? Like, did I miss anything? And it's like you don't know if you did because you walk through it and it's like you're just past that section. You don't know if there's anything to see. But on the tour, they'll highlight those things every morning. You have the little briefing of what's going to happen the day, and they tell you what to look out for. They tell you what's going to happen and where you're going to go, and it is much more of a where you can just enjoy, relax. I would say, so that's part of the difference.
I feel like I did the whole thing when I was 65, so that's 17 years ago with a pack, and I always wondered where I was going to stay that night. Like there's 5 albergues, but maybe one would be full, and should I go to this next one? And with travel fever, everything is taken care of. You don't have to worry about, gee, I wonder where I'm going to eat dinner, or I wonder if I'm going to walk with a 25-pound pack. You're just going to walk with a 2-pound pack with a raincoat and snacks. So having done it, the whole thing by myself, and having led a number of travel fever tours, you can see that I don't do anything by myself now anymore. Yippee!
Well, for me, it was like, I grew up backpacking, 25, 30-pound pack, bring your own food, make your own route, figure out what you're going to do if you get lost. What's going to happen if you get on the wrong trail. I didn't have to worry about that with going with Bob and Cecily and you, Betsy. Hello.
Yay!
Yay. And I think
I'm
that
glad.
part of it.
So happy to see you, and you look healthy. Yay!
I think that for me that it was the sense that I didn't have to worry about the logistics, like you said, Bob, and I could just focus on the experience. And I think I think we still have the great experience of what the Camino can offer without, I'm sorry, but I'm too old to sleep 3 abreast up. I went to some of the albergues and I'm like, okay, co-ed, 3 people stacked up together. And I just thought, you know what? I like I like the travel paper tours approach a lot better. You know, a room and a bath, and I didn't have to share with a bunch of other people, and you still have the pilgrimage experience. So it's very lovely.
Yeah, and during the
So,
day, it's not like Bob and Don are like behind you the entire time. Well,
no,
Betsy's going to be
exactly.
behind you the entire time, but other than Betsy being behind you, nobody else is really like you. They let you do your thing during the day, and so you have a lot of freedom during the day to do. And also, by the time you get in at the end of the day, there's usually a few hours to sort of relax and do whatever you want, like early afternoon. So there's definitely a lot of freedom and a lot of to really experience the Camino as it is the Camino.
The one thing I would say to people is get in shape. I mean,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed my experience because I set out to start increasing my mileage, and I started out walking 2 miles, and then I would walk 3 miles, and then I could walk 4 miles. And, I did walk up to 10 miles in practice, if you will. Because I think that so I didn't have to worry about a blister or feeling like my legs were hurting. And so I would really recommend, just preparing your body. It's not that hard, especially not having to carry all your stuff, but just that the baseline that you leave the States with to come on the walk will pay back in terms of how much you enjoy what's happening. Although there was one day when I had had too much to drink the night before.
That wasn't our fault.
I know. I was walking up this hill going, I don't feel very good. And there was this fountain in the wall of this winery that was pumping out wine.
I remember that, Claire.
Yes. And so I had a little hair of the dog, and I thought, oh, yeah, this actually works. So it's not all spiritual acknowledgement. It's also like a lot of sort of having a good time.
We're often asked that of these 3 trips, these 3 different sections. So the Pamplona section, the section into Santiago, and the section coming up from Portugal. I mean, which is the easiest and which is the hardest? I'd say, and people may have different opinions of this, but it seems to me coming up from Porto in Portugal, you're walking along, first of all, the Atlantic coast there, and then up a river. So by definition, it's pretty flat. Second, I would say is Pamplona. Because that section it's got some roll to it, but it's not overly difficult. And I think, as Asa said, that the later section of the section going into Santiago that has more hills, and the stages are a little bit longer. Although we're working on shaving off some distances on them, so I would classify that one as the harder one. People love to be able to come into Santiago as at the end point, but it is a little bit more difficult.
And Bob, I want one thing I think to remind people is that the way that you set up the tour is you have bailout points. If you're not feeling it that day, you don't have to walk at all. If you only want to go half a day, you can do the morning. If you know what I mean, there's ways to structure the walk so that it fits how you're feeling that day and your conditioning and all of that. So it made it, I think that's a lot of flexibility to be able to feel like, okay, what if I'm not holding anybody back? You know what I mean? If you just want to take a day off, you can take a day off, and you make that possible. And that's very helpful.
And during the day, you're not holding anyone back either as you're walking, because everyone is able to, go at their own pace. The Camino is exceedingly well marked. So it's not like everyone has to stay together in one group.
Speaking of well marked, so am I.
I noticed.
I got this in the town when we went into Spain after doing the Porto. What's that town in Spain? The first we from
Agarda.
Yes, I got that there. But there's these, you'll come to love this sign and this and the shell. This is a little teeny shell. And I just love this
Mm,
Flecha Amaria yellow arrow.
mm.
The scallop shell is a symbol of the Camino, and you can buy them, and many pilgrims are wearing them. But fortunately, we have Don who will tell what to do.
Well, I
We
think, yeah, sorry, that's another thing I wanted to mention is that somebody said that everybody wishes you buen camino. And, you know, if you're going to another country to experience a country, this is such a unique and a vibrant way to experience another place that's not just going to rocking up to a hotel and doing city tours and even renting a car. You're really immersing yourself in the landscape. And I found it incredibly interesting and wonderful to see how well we were received, and the little, the bars, they call them bars in Spain. They're cafes. So you could stop and have a coffee. People were always welcoming of the pilgrims. As Bob said, you meet pilgrims from all over the world. I remember this one woman from Japan, she's limping along, but she was going to do it. And I just think there's so much richness to the experience that goes far beyond your typical, oh, I'm taking a 10-day holiday. That part of it is really special. And I just can't say enough about that component.
The other thing, the people from Spain, there were lots of people from Spain walking. Like just on a weekend, there would be kids with bicycles and their parents, and there would be people that had a few days off, so they did a section of the Camino. I mean, there's a lot of Spaniards on the trip, on the Camino.
Yeah. The Spaniards are the biggest group that are walking it, and obviously it's right there for them.
They do sections.
Yeah. Yeah, more likely to do it in different parts. Don, tell us about the scallop
I have a
shells.
question. Yeah, I have a question real quickly.
Oh,
Um,
please.
how do you find where you're going to stay if you're doing it on your own or part of it, like the first few days before you start? How do you find a place
Well,
to stay overnight?
there are guides, books mostly, but also online resources that give you lists of places to stay. Yeah, Robin's holding up the most popular one right there. Uh, it's um, it's really quite detailed in terms of
Okay.
the maps and a description of the route, and it also has the different albergues marked out. And the albergue is the dormitory sleeping. Um, and there's more and more of them opening up, and the newer ones tend to be smaller and privately owned. But there's also albergues run by churches and municipalities and nonprofits and that type of thing as well. So it's a question of
Mm.
deciding where you want to go. Most people walking and staying in albergues do not reserve ahead, um, which is fine, but that can be difficult in very popular times of the year. So you have to be a little bit careful on that. Some people have found that they've walked 12 miles and they find that there's no place to stay and then have to walk another 5 miles to the next town. So you want to be a little careful with that, but it's certainly not impossible. That's how most people do it.
Yeah, I
Um,
also ended up consulting with other walkers. Like you would sort of just talk to other people, and you would just sort of look at things together, look at either online or in the guidebooks, and then make a plan. Um, so like that's a good resource is just other walkers, because many people actually doing it have done it before too. So like it's amazing how many people have done it already, and they know about what's upcoming, or ideas of like, oh, this is a good place to stay. For the guidebook, one of the things that I found is it had all these sections, and most people tend to do a day, each section corresponds to a day. I found if you stayed and actually the tour, I noticed you guys are doing this too. You would stay in the middle of the map, like in the middle of a section. So like, and that usually was like a little bit less crowded. Most people weren't stopping halfway through one of the sections in the guidebook. And so if you could sort of get, and then I got on this cycle where I was doing, you know, a map a day, but it was like I was off kilter from the schedules, so, or from the actual, you know, sections. And so then that was like a good way to go, I thought.
Yeah, very good advice.
Yeah.
Very good advice.
And another question: if you fly in from Madrid, for instance, how do you get to the starting point?
There's well, depends on which starting point you want to get to.
Oh,
For the Pamplona trip,
Pamplona.
you can fly from Madrid to Pamplona. Pamplona is not a big airport, but there is one or two flights a day. And coming on up, there's also a train line comes up to Pamplona. For instance, in the Santiago stage, the starting point is in Sarria, and there is a train line that runs up there. There's not an airport right there, but we do meet people in Santiago and bring you back to the beginning if you're doing it with us. But otherwise, you could take the train up, and there's train lines to Burgos and Lyon and other intermediary steps. So either flying or taking the train. There's also buses that I know less about, but there
I
are
ended
also
up taking the
buses.
buses, but it was actually it was pretty convenient. The bus was, it may be longer than the train, but it was a little bit cheaper. So yeah, and the bus stop was like right at the Madrid airport. So it's like you'd get off the plane, walk over to the bus stop, you know, get a coffee first, and then it just took a bus straight to Pamplona, and then another bus from there to Saint Jean.
Bob, when I did the trip, you had us meet in Bilbao.
Yep, that was the
That was
first
great.
time, and we've done that, but we have since found it more. Well, let me start over. Since that time, there's flights from Madrid to Pamplona, and there wasn't at the time when we did that we did the trip that you were on. So we did Bilbao. That's also an opportunity. And there's trains connections to Bilbao are not great, but there's bus connections there.
And then if you wanted to go a little bit before Pamplona and you come in with a suitcase, what did you do with the suitcase until you got to meet with the trip?
I mean, a few days early?
Yeah, right. If you came a few
I can
days.
tell you what I did.
Okay.
I went to Hotel Ciudad, which is you'd probably still stay, right, Bob, in Pamplona?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So my niece and I got there. We spent the night there, and I asked if we could leave our luggage, that we would be back in 3 days, and we would be staying in this hotel. And they said sure. So we took kind of like, I don't know, a day pack for our 3 days coming through the Pyrenees, and they stored it for us. I mean, they were like, yeah, sure. So and it's the
So you
hotel that
walked back and then walked over to Pamplona again.
Right. We stayed overnight in the hotel, left our luggage there,
Uh-huh.
and then we took a bus from
Oh,
Pamplona to St. John. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear about that.
okay.
Went to St. John, got off the bus, and then we hiked over the Pyrenees back to Pamplona and the same hotel.
Okay.
And then spent another night there meeting up with Travel Fever Tours.
Okay.
So that's an option.
You can also just come a day or a few days early without walking those early days. For instance, you come into Pamplona, you know, you'll have the name of the hotel and you just ask them for a few extra nights there, and then you can just spend the time exploring the city and catching up on your sleep and that type of thing. The same with Santiago or the Portuguese Camino. You'd fly into Porto and then you're right at the city and spend a couple of days there. Or other people flew into Lisbon, spent a little time there, and then took the train up to Porto. There's lots of options.
I can tell the scallop shell story. So
Please.
one of the way to identify pilgrims is everybody hangs a. I should have brought a prop. I'm sorry. Robin is way ahead of me. There's Robin. A shell. And so what we did, especially when we start in Pamplona, where they have lots of tapas, and one of the main, little dishes in the restaurants, one of the main things they have are scallops on a scallop shell. So I tell people to sneak them out after they have them at dinner time, and we clean them, and then I drill holes in them and hang them off a ribbon so that they can put them on their packs so that they're identifying themselves as happy pilgrims. And it just added another dimension that people, got a shell instead of buying one for $3 or $4. They got one that was from one of their meals, and people seem to enjoy that. So it's fun.
This is completely off the topic, Bob, but one of the things I think the gentleman who's asking about shoes, I cannot recommend more getting hiking poles, collapsible hiking poles. Because when you're tired and it's it's mile, whatever, 10 something, and you pull the poles out, and it's amazing how much more you can do with a pole to help you along. So definitely when you're looking at I know there's a gear list, but I just think that the hiking pole thing was, you don't need it for balance because it's not those trails. The roads, it's road and trail and stuff. It's not that hard, but fatigue is a thing. And it can be very helpful at the end of the day to have those poles to kind of, I don't know, it just gives you a little boost.
A little bit of extra.
Yep.
Well, what other questions do we have here?
I think
Everyone,
my questions for now, but if others have questions, I'm eager to hear them.
everybody ready to jump on the plane tonight and start walking tomorrow?
I'd love to do another one for sure. But...
Oh, I know.
There's some
This
people
is the
here.
sneaky thing you're doing here, Bob, is you're getting the rest of us like, oh, I could do it again.
There's some people here that I've never met, and I just wondered where everybody lives.
I live in Woodstock, New York, Hudson Valley.
Yep. Okay.
In Kingston. Yeah.
I'm in Boise, Idaho.
Boise,
Yay.
Idaho.
Oh, hey, Boise. All right.
Do you know Robert Taylor? Okay. He's from Boise, Idaho, so I thought obviously you would know each other. No.
No. It's
We
bigger
have a
than
lot
that.
of followers. We have
He's
a
been
lot of
on many
followers in
trips with
Boise.
his brother, with his son.
Yeah.
This is Tamara. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Please.
So I'm from outside of Philadelphia, by the way, and have not walked on any of the Camino. So I did sign up for a tour with Travel Fever a number of years ago, but maybe it was the only one that was canceled for lack of participation. It was when you only had one, and not all three offerings. So anyway, it's been on my mind for a while. Anyway, my question is this: the trip that starts in Pamplona. I had an acquaintance who was a tour guide actually, and lived a native of northern Spain. Tell me that northern Spain in the spring is very, very wet. And so I'm just curious, since so many of you have been on that version of the Camino, like how wet and windy and miserable is it in mid-April?
Claire?
Well, I live in Portland, Oregon. It can take you for wet any old day. It's not that bad.
Not so
It's
it's not like it
relative, right?
rains 80% of the time and it's a driving rain and that sort of thing. It's just typical, like we have a bad day now and again.
We had some rainy days, but I think we had one really rainy day, but honest to God, it's not, I know rain, and it ain't rain like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? It's completely manageable. It comes and goes. It's still Spain. You want to have your raincoat, waterproof boots, rain pants, and that's one of the great things about the travel fever approach is you can carry the gear you need and have it for the day, right? You can pack those things, but it's completely not, it's not the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. It's and the other thing about the rain is it's green, and also it's not too hot, because I think one of the things that happens to people that go on the Camino May and later is it gets hot. And I think heat is definitely more difficult to hike in than a little bit of rain. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously we're scheduling these trips, or maybe it's not obvious, but I'll tell you, we schedule these trips so that we have relatively good weather, and generally very good weather, actually. We've done the Pamplona section, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in April. And earlier in April than we've got it scheduled, pretty much, first week of April. And as Claire says, we've had some rain, but generally it's been warm enough and not too bad. You just in the winter, yeah, you're going to get more rain. Galicia, which is the section going into Santiago and also on the Portuguese coast coming up from Porto, those areas have a definite rainy season, dry season, and you don't want to be walking those too early or too late, or you could have torrential rains. But for instance, first week in October when we're doing the section into Santiago, Don, we didn't have a single,
No.
we didn't have any rain at all this fall. So I think it's going to be a lot drier than you fear it will be.
Okay, thank you.
There's
Appreciate that.
there's also an outside chance of snow, as Betsy
Yes.
can tell you.
When I did it in March, we had a lot of snow. And as soon as it got to be April, no snow. So you picked a very good time to go.
Well, what else? Any other questions?
If anybody is wondering, we've had a number of people with dietary needs or different dietary choosings, and we've been able to serve them well. Betsy is our mostly vegetarian, and we've taken good care of her. We've had some vegans and some other people with special needs, and I do probably half of the grocery shopping for the lunches when we're there, and we really haven't had any trouble getting interesting things for people if they don't eat what I won't use the word normal, but if you don't eat regular food, we can usually work it out very nicely.
Obviously closer to the coast, like coming up the Portuguese coast, but also in Galicia, you've got a lot more seafood and that type of thing also, which for pescatarians, that is an assistance.
One thing about the Pamplona tour is that it's a very undervisited part of Spain, right? It's La Rioja and La Navarra and the Rioja, and it's not a heavily, American tourist kind of place. And these beautiful hilltop villages, I mean, it's so evocative and it's so incredibly beautiful. And, it's such an exceptional experience. And I just want to say one more thing, Bob, is that you and you put so much heart into this, and there's a care and concern. And I was on another hiking tour, in the Dolomites. It was well done. It was great. It was beautiful, but it's, they're hired guides as opposed to the owner and his evidently brother and family members, and Betsy, who's like the ever ready bunny of people. So yeah, it's a very heartfelt kind of experience that's I think really exceptional. So
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
people ask about, what's better and worse. I've already talked about the terrain and the different tours. There's some other things I find, like the Pamplona trip typically has better wine because you're ending up in the Rioja region. Um, the section going into Santiago somehow seemed to have better breakfasts. Um, why? I don't know. Um, the Portuguese, in terms of, well, over time, each time we run the trip, we find better and better restaurants. We found some great first time restaurants going into Santiago this past fall. I would otherwise have said that the food in Portugal is maybe the best. The Portuguese cooking is quite good and a lot of seafood,
Yeah.
that type of thing. Um, so, yeah, there's definitely a lot of differences between the trips.
Um, as the trip bakery authority, I will say there are fantastic bakeries everywhere. One of the surprises is a little town in the middle of nowhere over in the Pamplona region actually has three bakeries in this one little town. And of course, being a team player, I'm willing to sample all of them. But it's just always been good. And the other amazing constant is orange juice. You can get fresh squeezed orange juice absolutely anywhere, every cafe, every gas station, every place you go. And I don't even bother drinking orange juice here anymore because it's so pale in comparison. And I warn people, I say, well, you're going to have this and you're going to say, well, that is the best glass of orange juice I've ever had in my life. And you think that you hit the top. And then the next day you go, oh my God, that one might even be better. So it's just so wonderful. The food and the orange juice is fantastic.
And now I'm getting really hungry. The other thing
Yeah,
I'll add to the
me
food
too.
scene is that tapas, particularly in the section out from Pamplona. Pamplona's got a good tapas scene. And then a couple days down the road, the small city of Logroño's got an amazing tapas scene. And one of those nights we just go from tapas place, and that's our dinner. And seeing how many we can eat along the way, and how many accompanying glasses of beer and wine we can handle.
I would say if people are thinking of going early, that's really a good idea because you get acclimated to the time. But also Pamplona is, if I was going to be an expat, I would go to Pamplona. I love that city.
Me too.
And yeah, and the hotel that Bob and company use there is Hotel Ciudad, which I just sometimes if I'm just like fantasizing about things, I just like I go to that place. I go to that hotel. I go to the little breakfast area.
Yeah.
And it's small and there's nothing particularly wonderful about it. It's a great location and the people there are great. And I like the little, you know, cafeteria and it's right on the kind of the edge of the city. And then you can just go in and go right around the corner and there's the whole city right there.
And
And
in 5 minutes, you get to the place that makes the crepes.
there's everything within,
Yummy.
10 minutes. And when I was there with my niece, we had a couple days. I took her to a Michelin star restaurant for lunch. We had everything, you know, wine, dessert, entree, appetizer. The whole thing for both of us was 80 euros. This was a Michelin star restaurant. Yeah. So there's great food all around you.
Well,
It's worth going a little early and spend a day or two in Pamplona. I just
yeah.
might have to do it. I just might have to do it again. I just might have to do it for a third time.
Me
You're always
too.
welcome, Robin.
Yay.
People have stayed in, gone to Barcelona and then come up to Pamplona, or they spend a few days in Madrid before coming up to the Santiago section, or as I said, Lisbon and then Porto. And then some people, you can also like fly off to Amsterdam or London, or do other things in other parts of Europe at the same time. We had some people a number of people by coincidence all went to Bologna after walking into Santiago, Bologna, Italy. So it's all accessible.
Mm.
Well, who would like to add a closing comment?
I think it sounds great.
Yay!
Thank you. Thanks for your time and entertaining the questions.
Oh, one question. Are you ever walking on like a highway that's shared by cars, or it's always a footpath?
There are
Yeah.
some short sections where you're sharing with cars. Um,
But you're
but
on a sidewalk.
yeah, there's always a be
Yeah.
a separate path beside the road, but typically you're on farm roads or purpose-built paths, or when you are on asphalt, you're on these little roads that very rarely get to see any traffic.
Okay.
So it's one of the definite nice things about it. So then, well, thank you for coming, and in particular, I thank you all for coming, but in particular, I thank the people who've walked the Camino, who have shared so much information with us in the past. I'm glad I recorded this, and I'm definitely going to put it up on the website as well, sending it out to other people. So cool.
Thank you, Bob. It's great to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Thank
And
you. Thanks for
Betsy, oh
letting me
my
share.
God.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, everybody.